what ended up happening so they become the number one contenders, barely celebrate. Here comes Solo Sikoa and the rest of the new bloodline, because it's always about the bloodline on SmackDown. So they come and they the number one, they were God have the tag titles. And so they come out, introduce themselves, and want to be acknowledged. Solo, of course, has a great need to be acknowledged as the tribal chief, and comes out there and it's like, all right, my God, I acknowledge you or whatever, but like, that's the least important thing here. Like, and he said, whenever you're ready to hand those titles over, we're ready. Like, Chris Sabin's not backing down. He doesn't care that you're the bloodline. Like, those titles are what we're after. We don't care who's holding them. And so then they're talking, and then they're like, you know what? Right, we'll take those titles anytime, any place. We'll do it. And they're like, all right, Alex Shelley's like, let's do it right now. And Nick Aldis was like, well, he asks each one individually, like, if this is what you want, like, we'll do it right now. And they did, right then and there. They did the match. And of course, bloodline shenanigans happen, because you can't have a bloodline match without shenanigans. That's not allowed unless it's specifically sanctioned that there's going to be no outside interference. And so we see Jimmy and Jay. Well, and let me back this up. I know Keila's aware. So Monday night, Jay Uso was wrestling Braun Breaker, defending the IC title, because Jay won the title from Braun a couple of weeks ago, and the bloodline cost Jay his title. And so Jay was like, okay, well, let's see what happens Friday night, because I'm going to cost you your tag titles. So that's how Motor City ends up with the titles. So while I'm very excited for Motor City having titles, it has the bloodline stench on it, because they did bloodline things to make them champions. So I have mixed emotions about it. I was like, we're here, we're champions. This is how we got here. Not thrilled about it, but I'm hoping that means that the bloodline will be distracted enough for Wargames that they will just kind of leave Motor City to kind of do their own thing as champions. They've got DIY and Street Profits to deal with right now. We don't have time for bloodline things, but maybe we circle back to that. Maybe the bloodline, who knows, maybe God is like, no, we need these titles to head into Survivor Series. But I think, so going into Wargames, none of them will have titles. Is that correct, Keila?
Yeah, none of them will be with belts, which is very interesting. Like, for the first time in a really long time, no member of the bloodline has a championship at all. This is all about family now. Like, family blood war 2024 is going down, and there's no titles. But I'm a little mixed too on how it happened. Like, the bloodline stench of the victory, but at the same time, it kind of had to happen this way, because what happened to Jay on Monday, by his family cost him the championship. And me and Scott talked about this. We didn't expect for it to happen this fast, but we just kept saying, who's going to kill Jacob Fatu? Who's going to take him out? Because he's the X factor. You can't do anything with him around. Thankfully, he was taken care of. But that was my primary concern. Like, if they're going to win, Jacob can't be there for it. So that happened. Very happy for Chris and Alex. Long overdue. I did laugh at Solo mocking them, saying right here, right now, anytime, any place. I'm like, Solo has now mastered being a ham hock, because for the longest time, he was trying to be a Roman Reigns prototype. Now he's being Solo himself, and he's actually funny.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely settled into that role. It took him a little bit to get there, but he's gotten there. And then now you have, there's so many interesting dynamics. And like, for those of you who aren't watching, like Roman and Jimmy Uso came to help at Bad Blood, and then like they've gotten beat down a couple times. It's just the two of them, and Jimmy is like, he like at the end of the SmackDown, he looked at him and he's like, we need help. Like, we can't do this on our own. And so they've been trying to get Jay, but I mean, we can't forget Roman, obviously a good guy now, but he was gaslighting the hell out of them for a couple of years, and Jimmy's just back in on it. And Jay was like, why? Like, why am I going to do anything to help Roman Reigns. Like, this is not happening. Roman won't even admit what he did to us. Like, this is not happening. And then finally, he just saw them getting beat down. And then obviously what happened on Monday. Monday was more like, or Friday was more of him kind of getting some revenge. But then we had the really nice moment with, so Motor City celebrated for a few minutes, left the ring. You have Jimmy and Jay kind of looking at each other like, do we do this? Are we ready? Can we trust each other again? And then we get the nice moment where they finally just embrace and hug, and crowd goes crazy. Roman Reigns is pouting at the top of the ramp. I said it looked like that Squidward meme, or this one where Squidward is looking out the window at Patrick and SpongeBob, except for in that meme he's annoyed, but in this one he's sad. But that's what that means. That's what I thought of when I saw that. I was like, he's the Squidward in this situation.
It's the perfect comparison because he feels left out. Like, how come I can't get hugged too? Because you have to humble yourself, Roman. Like, you have to actually apologize to Jay and say, I'm sorry for gaslighting you. And the only other person that's going to bring the family back together, and I cannot wait when this happens, is when Sami Zayn is going to come in. And that's really going to piss off Kevin Owens. That's what I'm looking forward to. Because he says, what, you too? Eat too, Sammy? Eat too.
Right. Exactly. Yes, it's going to be great. And we're all waiting on it. Like, we know it's coming, but it's going to be, regardless, it's going to be great whenever it happens. And and then you've got the Kevin's part of the storyline, and you've got, he's kind of distracted with Randy Orton, and he's taken out Cody, and so there's a lot of interesting moving parts. And, I hope that Motor City, not that they need to be in the center of it because there's, the story doesn't concern them, but they're kind of part of the story now because they're the ones who took the titles off of God. So they're kind of in this, I don't want to say bit parts of the story because I think they're more than that, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe they don't have any further until God, until they get a rematch down the line, which clearly won't be at Survivor Series. What's the December pay-per-view?
There is no pay-per-view in December. That's the last.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That's right there, but they're doing the holiday show, right? That's a house show, right? Yes, because it's the same night as World's End. That's which is the AEW pay-per-view.
Yes,
same
head battle. Will a live stream on Peacock? That's the question. This live event special that's somewhere in Florida. Will we actually be bold enough to stream head to head as a special house show event?
Right, which is interesting. So it would be an interesting, I don't know where they do this rematch, because they've got to do a rematch at some point with God losing the titles. Do you do it on a show like that where it's where you could go head to head with World's End? Do you save it because January is obviously Royal Rumble season? I mean, you could do it on the, depending on who's going to be in the Rumble, but there are obviously other matches besides the Rumble matches. So do you hold off and do the rematch there, or do you do it on a random SmackDown?
Yeah, and then we got to remember the Royal Rumble's in February, so it's like 2 months between
shows.
Is
right, because you're right.
So it's got to be like, maybe they'll do it for day one, whatever day one for the New Year is going to be. Maybe they'll wait then, or maybe Saturday night's main event.
Oh yeah, because they're going to want to do it big for a Saturday night main event. So that's certainly where they could hang it, where they could hold it. And Steven has a question for you, Keila, and he wants to know: do you think Hikuleo will become part of this either or at or before Wargames?
Oh, that's a good question. I've heard plans of him moving to NXT first, so I don't know if he's going to be directly in the Bloodline storyline. And honestly, they have enough people for right now. Like, I don't need another Usos in the Bloodline. I need a break. Because at this point, we've completed game 1 of the World Series of the Bloodline storyline. Like, we're not in the 9th inning. We're in game 2. It's inning 4. And we need to rest all future Bloodline members until 2026. Respectfully, I've seen enough for right now. We're good. Hikuleo could be on NXT, dominate for a year, and then come up. I don't need any more Bloodline members. We're good.
And that would be great for Hikuleo to establish himself as his own person, to see who he is, that he doesn't have to, obviously he's always going to be associated with his family. looks just like them. We can't deny. I mean, it's not Braun Breaker where they change his name. Like we know you're a Steiner. We can listen. We close our eyes and listen to you talk.
Yes.
So
You
I
have
think
Scott's voice and your dad's face. There you go.
right, yeah, exactly. So I think with Hikuleo, if that's the route they go, that would actually be really good. Let him establish himself away from the bloodline. Let him make himself see who he is outside of New Japan. Who can he be? Who is he? Who does Hikuleo know who he is without his family? Because he was there. I mean, obviously he had ELP and things like that, but he was involved with his family for a little bit in New Japan. So it would be nice to see Hikuleo kind of stand on his own 2 feet and see what he can do, and then build himself up so that when the time comes, when he's got to, who knows if he's going to play a savior role or where exactly they're going to fit him in there. But I think when you put it that way, I think that's a smarter plan for him.
Yeah, and for me, I think the smarter plan down the road, because we know one day, very soon, Solo is going to be overthrown as a tribal chief, and one day he is going to acknowledge Roman Reigns as his tribal chief one day. And when that happens, his own tribe is going to kill him. And then you bring in Hikuleo to finish him. That is that's what I would do in the twist.
I like it.
Because then Jacob would be the new tribal chief for that bloodline.
Yeah, because that's the thing is Solo's got to count his days, because once Jacob is the one. I mean, let's be honest. Jacob is the guy. And I think that they have to be careful with the way they handle Jacob. And I think they're going to be smart about it. They've been smart with it so far, I think. And because like you said, I'd like to see Hikuleo finish him off, and then Jacob be the one to be to lead the new bloodline. And I think that's a great theory. And Steven says, I'll get to your question in just a minute, Venkin. Steven says, I have a feeling whenever we finally see him, he'll be a bit bulkier, and he put in parentheses more swole.
Yes, the John Moxley plan. He'll be in NXT putting at least 30 pounds of muscle.
Right.
In the next year.
And then he'll wear the Schmedium shirts before he kills people.
That's good merch.
This good merch.